Hey guys, Project Reaper here, and today I want to talk to you about the talent block. This is a talent that I see misused a lot, especially in quick match, but also in ranked matches. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about how it works, what it's good for, and when it's worth taking. And then, you know, on the flip side, when it's not worth taking. So the two things that I generally see people do, or at least the train of thought that I think they're on, even though it's wrong, is either one, they think I'm a tank or I am melee, and so I'm going to be up in there and I'm going to need to block some incoming damage, so I'm going to take block to make me a little bit tankier. And although they're partially right, it really depends what your matchup is and what enemies you're against if the block power, the block talent, is actually going to have this sort of benefit that you're looking for. And then the other school of thought that I tend to see is people will look at the matchup, they'll look at their enemies, and they'll say to themselves, oh, they have several people who are going to attack me with basic attacks rather than ability attacks. And so since block doesn't reduce abilities, it reduces basic attacks, I'll take block to reduce damage from those basic attackers. And again, they're on the right track. However, there is this thing to consider that I think a lot of people are overlooking, and so that's what I want to kind of talk about. So let's quickly look at this power block. Every 5 seconds, you'll block a basic attack from an enemy hero up to half its damage, and it'll store up to 2 charges. So over 10 seconds, you'll gain 2 charges. Now, the things to consider about block are, 1, how much damage is a single basic attack doing, and 2, how quickly is the enemy attacking me to remove these stacks. Now, the best examples I can come up with right off the top of my head are going to be Vala and Falstad. These two attackers attack very, very quickly, but they do it for very low damage. You know, Illidan's another one. They attack for under 100 damage at level 1, very low damage per hit, and so when you block that damage, you're only going to be blocking half of 100. Let's go with 100 for easy math. Most of the tanks that hit a little slower but hit a little harder, they start at around 150, or actually about 160, but for easy math we're going to go with 150. So this block, if a tank hits you, it's going to reduce the damage by 75 rather than 50. That's a full 50% better for you. It's 50% more benefit against a tank melee attack than it is against a Vala crossbolt attack. So I hope I'm kind of getting the idea across there, because I don't want this video to go too long, but I do want to talk about this applies to all forms of block, so that would include things like reactive parry. This gives you anytime the game says block, it does the same thing. Block is going to reduce the damage by 50%, and it typically stores up to 2 charges. There are a couple exceptions to this, which would be at level 4, Lieutenant Morales has advanced block. It does the same thing, but it'll actually store up to 3 charges. And then something like Brightwing actually fires off this power pixie dust, and this will give any character block. So I'll get more into this in my Brightwing video, but it's important. What I'm going to go over next is very important when you're playing Brightwing, because you'll want to know where to put that pixie dust to get the most benefit for your team. And then the one other one it's not actually block, but it's very similar, and that is frost armor. This does not stack, so you won't get more stacks over time. Just every 8 seconds it becomes active in the block feature, and it'll actually block 75% of damage rather than 50, so it's blocking a full 25% more. And again, against the right enemies, against certain enemies who hit really hard with their basic attacks, you might consider the frost armor. So let's talk about now which heroes hit the hardest, which ones are really gonna do that sort of damage. It turns out, and I've gone through, I did all these calculations based on level 1 and level 20 damage. It turned out to be pretty static. Like, they gain the same amount of damage per level, and so it's the same really level 1 or level 20. So this is based on level 20, or excuse me, level 1 right here, and all the tanks, for the most part, hit hard enough to justify taking block. There are a few exceptions. Rehgar, because he's 2 heroes, he does like 75 damage, and his pet does like 75 damage, so together they hit about as hard as a tank. But because they're separate hits, it's actually that alone will make block not beneficial, and I hope that kind of makes sense. But I will put this list of heroes in the description so that you guys can see like which characters you really do want block against. But what it really comes down to is those really fast attackers. Like Vala is one that I see people take block against a lot, and you don't really need it. Load this up just real quick so I can show you. We'll do assassins, Vala, try. Alright, so thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like this, I'm going to be doing videos about the talents that they're not hero specific, but they tend to be across the board for lots of heroes, and I'm going to be doing kind of guides on when they're the most beneficial, as well as guides for every individual hero. So I will pump those out as fast as I can. And then with Vala, what I wanted to show you guys was, as you can see, she only does 98 damage per attack. She just attacks really fast at over 1.5 a second, so she attacks very fast in comparison to some of the other heroes. Whereas Arthas, Diablo, almost every tank, they start at 159 base damage. So right off the bat, right from level 1, you're going to be doing blocking a lot more damage against a tank than you are against an assassin in general, especially a fast attacking assassin. So there are a couple assassins. Now these two, they do have kind of low damage, but the thing to know about Nova is at level 7 she's going to buff her basic damage 90% of the time. And the thing about Zeratul is he's going to do the same. He'll be buffing his basic damage, so that's when you might want block against these guys right here if they're doing that basic damage buff. And then Butcher, he hits super hard. If you see a Butcher, I would highly recommend block. Greymane's pretty interesting. He attacks both quickly and hits hard. I would also really recommend block against a Greymane, because he's going to leap in there and get a couple hits, but he's also very squishy, so if you don't get hurt, if you're taking half the damage from those first 2 hits, you're going to be able to dole more damage out to him in that time frame and scare him off. So, you know, yeah, I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to get back to you guys, or if you feel like there's something I missed or didn't cover, I can always add it in. So thanks again for watching, and you guys have a great day.